Good evening. We're continuing to talk about God's attributes, and tonight I want to talk about God's holiness. I wonder if you have given much thought as to what the word holy means. My wife and I have gone a few times to Washington, D.C., to the museums there, and we really enjoy that kind of thing. And one of my favorites is the Museum of American History. And there's a place where the uh, the flag that hung over Baltimore Harbor during the War of 1812, which Francis Scott Key saw waving, and as he saw it waving, penned the words to our national anthem. Uh, the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. That flag, holes all through it, is on display in the Museum of American History. It has its own little location, and it's dimly lit for the preservation of the cloth so that it doesn't deteriorate from exposure. People come into this room and they stand on this sidewalk overlooking this flag, which is laid out on display underneath glass beneath them. And the interesting thing about the experience of walking in that room is what people do. Uh, they whisper. Every person in that room whispers. Why? The noise isn't going to do anything to the flag. It's because they are experiencing a type of holiness. They are in the presence of something that feels larger than themselves, something of significance and importance, something that is set apart, that deserves their respect. That is what holiness means. Holiness, a simple definition for it, means set apart. And the Bible describes God as holy in more times than I would be willing to try to count. The angels in Isaiah 6 say, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty. The whole earth is full of His glory." He is said to be the Holy One of Israel. In various places, it is said of Him that He alone is holy. In 1 Timothy chapter 6, it says that He alone has immortality and dwells in unapproachable light. That is a description of His holiness. What does this then mean about God? Well, it first means that He is worthy of such respect, as even more so as those individuals showed that flag there at the New Museum of American History. That when we are coming into His presence, either in prayer or in worship, we are coming into the presence of something far greater than ourselves and worthy of our awe, and the Bible would say fear and adoration. But secondly, it means that God is something else entirely than anything in the created order, and that includes angels. Angels are only holy because of their relationship to God, but they're not holy in and of themselves. Why? Because they're created beings just like you and I are. God alone exists necessarily in and of Himself. And there's a sense in which He is entirely other than everything else. And so what do the angels do in Isaiah chapter 6 when they're standing in the presence of this holy God? Well, they're called seraphim, these types of angels, which is a Hebrew word which means burning ones, which are probably a description of what they looked like. They had 6 wings, and Isaiah says of them that with 2 they covered their eyes, with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they flew. So what is an interest, many have pointed out that 2/3 of what these seraphim are doing, 2/3 of their abilities, is in worship and adoration, covering their feet, covering their eyes. And 1/3 is in service, flying. They are in fearful awe of God. And so we too should imitate how these angels, these seraphim, respond to God. The Bible would say that not only should we enter His courts with, say, thanksgiving and praise, with awe and respect, But we too should seek to be holy. It says that in Hebrews 12:4 that we are to strive for the holiness without which no one will see God. In 2 Corinthians 6:14 through 18, it says, "Let us cleanse ourselves from every defilement of body and spirit, and make holiness perfect in the fear of God." We are to aspire to imitate the moral holiness, the perfection of God, and to remove from our lives all things which defile that, which stand in opposition to His holiness. So let us labor with the grace of God to put off all things that are in opposition to God's holiness, His purity, and let us seek, by the grace of God, to live in such a manner as is pleasing to Him. God bless and have a good night.